Right, Mark. Final Cairnsy's coaching Cologne. What's it like?
Smells like curry.
It's only taken us a month to get that even remotely online, but all good. So, and also, it's your final week. I'm assuming there's a few tears around that with your remote coaching.
No, I'm looking forward to getting back. To be honest, it's in the grass, so it's a big part of me as a person. So I'm looking forward to getting back to being on the pitch and chatting to the boys, and just being part of the club in real life rather than this remote stuff.
Awesome, cool. Okay, so let's get into it. I think we'll pick up where we left off last week. You, on Monday, had a culture club. How did that go? Do you want to set the scene?
Yeah, so we had the Zoom call, obviously, not in real life. But we had the Zoom call, and actually it was a really good call. And there was about, it was 30 odd boys on it, which is great because it's a Monday night. It's not a night that they normally dedicate to training or the rugby stuff. And they would not, and a lot of them have work. So there's some really good, reasonable excuses going on around work. So we got them all together, and then the whole thing was around about living the culture, rather than this kind of words on a wall. So we actually chose the words as coaches and senior players, and then we needed the players to then add life to those words, like bring them to life: on field behaviours, off field behaviours. And obviously I've posted the stuff since then. I'll just kind of quickly scroll down. We've got this big thing called Be a Good Chieftain now, that we'll look for as much as possible, and in our analysis of our on-field stuff as well, not just our off-field stuff. And then leadership group, and then our values we spoke about. And I've got to fill in these bits now, based on the information that the players gave me on that Jamboard.
Cool, that's awesome. Did the players enjoy that experience? Sorry.
I think so. I need to obviously find out. Like, I've not sent them my feedback form yet. I will do. But yeah, they were really engaged. We used Zoom rooms. I'll just jump into this Jamboard here, Andy. And I'm allowing them. This still exists. So this is a really cool place where they can just grab a post-it, call it what they want to call it. Add information there, and so they were all in their Zoom rooms and collaborating around about what honesty looks like on field, what it looks like off field. And then they, each group had their own word, and then afterwards I said, you can go back onto the Jamboard at any time. I'm going to wrap it all up by tomorrow, so you've got until then to keep adding more to it. And I've seen a few bits and pieces coming in since the call.
Awesome. And I know it's early days since you had that meeting, but it's not just a good culture is not just something you can switch on or off. Is there been any examples that you can even share that relates to some of this stuff in real life?
Yeah, sure. So since the meeting, people are looking for it more. I just go to my save stuff. Like Ali, he's my co-coach and doing a lot of the hard yards just now because I'm not about. But we got this from Bigger, and actually we probably knew about this a while back, and we said just received this through. It was then sent to us from our president, who is aware of this kind of culture stuff. And as soon as Ali got it, he passed it on to the players, And then underneath you can kind of see, great work, guys, BAGC. So Be a Good Chieftain. I'm trying to kind of then bring in and reinforce the values or the BAGC that we've got going on within that. And then just a bit further down again, like Carson basically saying, it's poor for me, I was slow to get back in the line. And then underneath that, it's just again me trying to reinforce this honesty and humility, part of it, BAGC. Like, I'm not wanting people to pour their heart after every game, but I want to try and reinforce it at the moment. So there's a couple of good examples, I guess.
Good stuff. That's cool. So if we move on now, I know you've got your first league game on Saturday. Who's it against? Quickly.
It's against Hoik.
Okay. So first league game on Saturday. I guess it's getting to that stage where you're obviously, focusing more and more on the performance. We've talked a lot about individual development, the sort of group development, and noticing stuff and being positive and what have you. So,
Yeah.
How do you help to kind of bring all that together? I guess when there's a lot of stuff, a lot of information flying around from different people. So how do you bring it all together, and how do you make it stick?
Yeah, making it stick's the main thing. I don't think people actually go back to a lot of the documents you send out, even if they are all in one place, so they can easily find them. So like I'll ask my players whenever we send something out to simply save it on the feed, and then they can go to their saved items, and then it'll bring up all that stuff for them. So it's always there, whether it's on their phone or on the laptop like me. But in reality, I've got to make it stick with the way that I present it, and I want them to think of something. I want them to be able to associate it to something else. So an example of that is our defense, and it's pretty harsh, right? But sometimes I need to be harsh because they won. They had a really good game against Heriots, and there was some really great stuff. But I wanted to create this defensive thread as well. So I was basically saying I've been trying to pin down what our defence reminds me of, and then I said it reminds me of a beep test at the early stages, which is quite brutal, but at least it's memorable. And the reason for that is I think we're conserving energy. We get back to turn on the beep rather than being there early. We're slow off the line, and then we repeat. And I said boring, yawn. I just want it to be more exciting. You should see the way we switch on an attack. Like that's where I need us to get to in defence. So I then took it a step further.
Got to manage first. The multi-stage fitness test will start in 5 seconds. Ready. Match over. Start level 1.
So anyway, I won't labour on it too much, but I go through multiple defence sets with that beat.
Level 1.
So yes, always at level 1, and every time the ball's played away, there's a beep and stuff. So it's a bit of fun, right? But it sticks in the mind now. I'm hoping that when the boys get up off the ground and get back into position in the line, they're reminded of like that beep test where they're going to get back, get their foot over, and then set off slowly again to the next level. So that's kind of what I wanted to do.
You hear the boys, and this is not a beep test when they're out.
Yeah, I'm hoping they're reinforcing, right?
Cool. So okay, and then I guess with this, you do a lot with playlists in terms of like bringing stuff together. So not always with the beep test soundtrack, as memorable as it is. But how do you pull all that together? Because I know it's not you as such doing all the legwork, is it?
Nah, totally. So I'll just jump into that just now, Andy. Yeah, so I actually don't have to look for every single defensive moment. So the way that I set my team up is that we all analyze the game together. So my number 1 in the team does the first 5 minutes, number 2 does the next 5 minutes, until we've got a combination of my 20-player squad managing to cover 100 minutes of the game and clipping around these areas. There's bits and pieces in there that have been added, but generally we stick to attack, defense, scrum, line out, set piece and penalties and continuity, transition. So I then just have to come in here and go, right, I need to find out what our defense is going on. And I just click on that, brings up all the defensive moments in here. And then I can just add those to a playlist. So all I did was add them to a playlist. Call that playlist, create a new, call it defense. I'll call it beat test, I think actually, beat test. Made it private, so none of the players seen it. I was working on it. And then that's all those clips ready for me to start to reorder and stuff. So playlist sitting here. Did I call it beep test? Let's see. Yeah, beep test defense. This is the one I did last week. And all I'm doing, I'll just pause that. All I'm doing from here is basically getting rid of the clips I don't need from that. I'm not deleting them from the analysis, just from my playlist. And I can also edit them in terms of length now without affecting the original analysis as well. Then just reorder them based on, whatever I want to start first. I just did it chronological. And then once I've got that, simple case of going to settings and then basically downloading that to my computer. And then from there, I used iMovie to stick on some audio to sync up like the beep test audio to it. And then chucked it back up onto the feed on Coach Logic. So that was my process. It didn't take long. The longest part was waiting for iMovie to process the video.
So I guess we spoke last week about you wanting to make yourself redundant-ish. So this is that, right? Because I know we're talking a little bit about the mechanics of how you put the playlist together off the back of the players creating that sort of first level content. But ultimately what you're doing is you're using your experience and knowledge of the game to identify the examples that are going to most help get your point across and hopefully obviously improve the squad. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah, and I wanted to reinforce it, right? So we had some South African stuff on the video room as well. So I just took some South African defence against the Lions, gave the context of, like, I'm not asking us to be technically world class. All the things that these guys are doing, we can do as well as players. So if I just jump back onto that feed, 1 second. Okay, so yeah, if you look back on the feed, what I've done in the response to the original one was just talked about what it looks like. And again, saying, I know it's international rugby, but stuff we can control, like speed the feet, alignment, all that kind of stuff. So they've now got that, they've got that image of what they're like, the beep test, what it looks like, third test, brutal test with South Africa doing some really good defence, but just really good basics around about it. So I'm hoping that's going to reinforce the message and make it stick.
Awesome. Cool. Well, it'll be good to see, obviously, a big game against Hawick. A few famous Lions, actually, I guess, play for Hawick. So hopefully they're not rocking up on Saturday.
There was two, yeah. Well, you had Stuart Hogg and you had... Pardon?
Rory Sutherland was...
Yeah, Rory Sutherland was involved. Like, Rory was playing in our league 4 years ago, I think. It's ridiculous, his rise. But yeah, so it's a really good team and great kind of Scottish club, just a lot of players. So it's always nice. It's nice to go down there. It's never nice to go down there, but it's nice to go down there.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, like I say, last week, coaching in Cologne. Maybe we can have a conversation in real life about next week.
Face to face, mate. Cool.
Face to face. All right. Cool. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye.